Australith, the ancient destruction beast of the Fourth Order Transcendence, has finally been defeated after reigning terror for almost 2 months. The whole Jiao city, at least those who managed to survive, celebrated a new lease on their lives. Everyone inside the Federation also felt some semblance of relief as they jumped for joy. The higher-ups could not be any happier. They needed a lot of help, but they pulled through. Federation leader even lets an extremely rare smile out in the corner of his mouth. While everyone was celebrating, the beaten-up god tree was left alone with little Panda in the heart of the city. Even he did not expect that Jiao city would be destroyed to this extent. But then again, the previous wars between humans are scarier than this scene. Before anything else, Yuzi wanted to ask the little guy if he found the person he was looking for. He did for a brief moment, but he had to help in escorting people out of the city, so he hasn't looked for her just yet. It was at this moment that Nine Tails made her entrance with a desperate haste. She was just looking for the boss, but it's also good that little Panda's here. Nine Tails has something regretful that she needed to tell little Panda. Those string of words made the little guy's stomach turn. His mind was full of thoughts about how Xiao Ai was protecting the retreating civilians when a shadow beast managed to sneak in for an attack. They can't blame the units in that position. It was a chaotic situation, and there were too many humans to protect. In lieu of that, they just decided to erect a tomb for the peach-colored-haired zookeeper so little Panda could visit. The big boss himself ferried the little guy across the ruined city just to get to that tomb as fast as possible. He does not know what he should even do if he sees that tomb, so little Panda turned to the god tree for answers. Yuzi, you notice that the little guy is not handling this sudden news well at all. He did not want to add to that weight, so he tried to be cheerful. All little Panda has to do is summon his usual courage and bid his farewells. Xiao Ai was a strong girl. It's not fitting for her to have a sad ending flowing with tears. He steeled his resolve, repeating to himself that crying is what a coward would do in this situation. It did not take too long for them to arrive at the tomb that the team built for Xiao Ai. The flowers around the area must be the work of Thorn. She's always had an eye for this type of things. State more remain of his first friend. Little Panda realized just how much he owes everyone for their kindness. He just wanted Xiao Ai to feel assured that the little panda from back then won't be in danger anymore, for he has gotten much stronger. He did not expect that their reunion would go this way. This would be the last time they will meet, even if the little guy is unwilling to let go yet. But the time has come, with tears of blood flowing from his eyes. He promised to never cry again, to live on bravely. Because time will never stop for anyone. Crying is meaningless if you cannot grow by moving forward. This is what little Panda learned after being protected his whole life. One last promise he has was that he will be fine in this world and there is nothing to worry about. But it looks like there really is nothing to worry about. Xiao Ai's sweet voice rung on Chizi's ears, calling his name. He slowly turned his head around, fearing what he might see behind. But after seeing even just a portion of her, he became certain that this wasn't a dream. Fear has subsided. All he could think about was the conversation with God Tree on the way to this place. It's been a long time since these two have seen each other. They just kept on running away. There are so many things that the little guy wanted to say and share, but he could not think straight. At this moment, the two felt like they were the only living and breathing beings in the whole world. Tears started welling up in her eyes. The bad times are over. Chizi remembered the God Tree's advice to not cry while summoning his courage to bid farewell. He understands that crying is the behavior of a coward, but his face has been contorted by tears and the feeling of relief at the sight of his friend. He really thought that in this life, they would never see each other again. If crying is the coward's way, then I don't want to be brave. Xiao Ai is on the same boat. When they finally met each other with a tight hug, little Panda realized that the God Tree and Nine Tails got him with a fucked up dead friend prank. Mr. Zookeeper Gramps was safe too, in case anyone's asking. Once everything had been said and done, Yuzu was left with what little mangled body he had left and a ton of things to ponder. This prank can be counted as a small part of his revenge against the little panda. Next time, behaviors like Cheesy's won't be cleared so easily. Nine Tails was tasked to inform the main four and the rest to hand the survivors over to the human military force as they made their leave. As for their ninth brother, the little panda, they might have to wait and see. It looks like he was enjoying himself with Xiao Ai. Even his overconfident grin was back. God Tree thinks it's best that they left the final decision to the little guy himself. Xiao Qing was also cleaning up with her secret task force. They've wiped out any shadow beasts that might have survived. It's a big win for Misty Mountains, so it's a big win for Misty Mountains Princess. It's time to withdraw. The higher-ups have wound down their celebration as there are still things to take care of. They fear that the Misty Mountain beasts might refuse to leave, and they think that the survivors might be used as hostages. Things would have been disastrous if the head secretary came in a little bit later for the latest update on the field. The report stated that the strange beasts of the Misty Mountains had vacated Jia or city. This was supposed to be good news, but the Federation head felt something was odd. There's also no need to worry about the citizens as they have been handed over to the military without a fuss. Humans all over the Federation felt their perception of the supposed demon tree change overnight. Humanity owes them a huge favor, and some beasts are particularly charming to the crowd. The Federation head finally grasped what was nagging him at the back of his mind. This war might just be a big scheme, a big plot under the control of that god tree.
This is big brain time.
When the Misty Mountain beasts left the city, all that remained were ruins and deadly silence. Among the rubble, there was something odd trying to pierce into the open air. It was the miniature version of the ancient destruction beast before undergoing the moth transformation. He was wise to leave a clone behind when things got dicey. He would have been doomed otherwise. Time is all he needs, and he'll get his revenge. But before thinking about revenge, maybe he should have thought about hiding out first as a mysterious furry palm grabbed the clone. That furry fellow was one of the panda units of humanity. This one just happened to be Chi-Zi's big brother. Given that he's just a clone, his ancient destruction beast had nothing to use as a defense. The dark panda was ruthless. He easily vaporized the remnants of the catastrophe in a shining blast. That attack was both casual and fatal. Big Panda does not look like someone you can mess with. Another furry fellow came out of the woodwork. They were talking about Chi-Zi's whereabouts. Realizing that his little brother is old enough to make the choice, Big Panda did not push any further than they already had. What's certain is that they will meet again sooner or later anyway. Maybe on the same side, maybe not. This supposed tomb really was impressive. Everyone pitched in with their talents to build something believable for the prank. Now, it was like the two weren't even separated. They were freely gossiping about how Sparky the golden ant and Thorn are fond of each other, but praying Mantis was getting in the way. Even Zookeeper Gramps has jumped in on the juicy discussion. He thought that Thorn and the White Tiger were the real partners. This question about some silly gossip proves that things are not that simple in the intricate web of connections in the mountain. Chi-Zi mentioned going back to the Misty Mountains, so Xiao Ai wanted to know more about that. But if you ask her, she just wanted this old friend to stay here. Little Panda felt great hearing those words coming out of her mouth. But he just owes the entire crew too much gratitude to bail out. If it weren't for Godtree, he would have died, and they would have never been able to meet again. This time, he's going back to repay a debt that could never be truly paid back. But more important than that, he's going back because the Misty Mountains are his home. Xiao Ai understands. Just one look at the little panda's cuddly face was enough to ascertain that this is truly what he wanted. But before going, he wanted her to take back something that she left behind a long time ago. The flute that Chi-Zi's been keeping safe all this time. She recoiled back and meekly answered that she did not want the flute. It's been a while since she carried the instrument, and she has forgotten how it felt. Little Buddy could have the official quest to keep it with him, at least for now. The next time that they meet, however long that may take, maybe he could return the flute back. That sounds like a good deal to Chi-Zi. With a wide smile, the little panda accepted the terms. Now that everyone was going back to the Misty Mountains, of course, the big boss was also on the road, traveling with incredible speed. While Godtree was rushing back, he heard a vulture's wing and Chi-Zi's voice calling out to him. Ninetails knew what this meant. She knew what Ninth Brother chose, and she was very pleased. And so, Godtree, Ninetails, Chi-Zi the little panda, and a random vulture beast traversed the woods at their own pace. The structures all around the mountains were as stalwart as ever. The fog was so much thicker than before. It has truly been a while since Godtree set root on his home soil, but it's still as comfortable as ever. He just got parked and Long Feng was already shadowing him politely with matters to report. Thankfully, under this man's supervision, nothing happened while everyone was away from home base. Opening the attribute panel, Yu was greeted by his 180,000 unspent evolution points. That's a strange number. The number of his points didn't increase by a ton after killing a beast at the brink of 5th order transcendence. A troubling thought started nagging the god tree's mind. There's a possibility that the beast is still alive. While he was trying to recall the events from the war, Yu started feeling a heavy weight bearing on his whole body. Then at the next second, he was out of the real world and into some different type of space. In front of him was the only voice that called him by his old name, Yu. The system has pulled him in to have a conversation. The last time he talked with the system was under some time-sensitive circumstances. The system might want him to do something again. But it just came to drop a warning since the forces of darkness have begun to manifest. The next enemy that will step forward is an existence that holds unimaginable powers. That just means that the ancient creature Yuziyu killed was the potential crisis mentioned way back before. The system continued that the future will be filled with despair. It is fate that he will lose everything. And if he loses, he'll fall into reincarnation again. On the narrow chance that he wins, he will also end up alone ultimately. The situation is far more dire than anyone could imagine. One advice that the system gave the God Tree one last time was to prepare for a fight to the death. With those ominous words, Yuziyu was kicked out of the different space. Now he's back to reality. Did the system just spoil all of us for what's about to come? He knows better than to ignore the system's warning. Now he knows that the darkness is coming. It's coming for everyone and everything. If that was the case, then Yuziyu dared that freaking darkness to do as it pleases. He'll stand on business. If you know God Tree, then you know one thing. He does not lose. Somewhere far from the lands of Misty Mountains was a remote island in the middle of the ocean. Something is living around the waters of this island. Something big capable of drowning mountains with waves. Below the deep and dark ocean is where real power congregates. It's where real powerhouses are born. Deep below the island was an ominous passageway inaccessible for any technology currently available. In the depths, there was a tombstone that had no business being underwater. A whale beast had come to this area to visit this tombstone that's emitting a strange aura. Then, the beast started saying a prayer to the prophet of the sea tribe to lead them to the true path of evolution. All the Whale Island beast wanted was a leader for the sea tribe, so they could climb to the top of all races. After saying his piece and offering his prayers, the Whale Island beast went his own way. Back in the Misty Mountains, times of peace are also the time of harvests. God Tree has absorbed countless ice spirit stones that an ice elemental spiritual flower has condensed on his head. It'll be tricky to figure out who deserves this treat the most. Ninetails came in with an unrelated idea. She suggested that their master should travel the vast lands beyond his jurisdiction now that he could freely control his size. He knows that venturing outside of their territory will be a thing that they must do soon, but it is not time just yet. But if that time comes, the Divine Flower was the first one that wanted to reserve a slot to join the journey. That's not an issue for Yuziyu. With this little Divine Flower around, his cultivation speed goes much faster. KZ has also pretty much settled back in as the guy who doesn't care about the rules. But now, he's always on a call with Xiao Ai from a faraway city. He even casually ropes everyone in the background from time to time. Maybe he wants to be a TikTok star or something. Whatever it is, everyone was under the impression that Lil Panda has become weird. Ninetails felt that the Lil Gut was getting more and more annoying. While they were chatting around, the forming of the ice elemental spiritual flower suddenly started commencing. It has finally blossomed. There's one member that was deserving of this reward. It's none other than Little White. Hearing those two words awakened something primal in the white tiger's blood. But Yuziyu just scooped the overgrown cat out of the way, as the one to get the treat will be the little white snake. All the serpent has to do is consume the spiritual flower, an unbelievably precious treasure for anyone with ice attributes. The little beast did not hesitate and took the flower in one bite while taking the big boss. Its effects were equally drastic and swift. A substantial change in shape, size, and form started happening on Little White's body. Even Yuziyu has to cover his eyes to protect himself from the blinding bright light the evolution was giving out. The slender Little White of before was gone. Say hello to a more compact form with even more intense ice abilities. From a baby snake to a full-grown fearsome beast that can't be looked down upon. Yuziyu stumbled on his words. This serpent was just so breathtakingly beautiful. Not only that, Little White has also gained the mini divine ability of Cloud Soaring Mastery, basically a flight skill, traversing at speeds rivaling that of light. This was great news, another addition to their aerial power, but God Tree felt a little jealous that he had never gained the ability to fly. Everyone around to witness the majestic transformation was locked in. Little White immediately slithered towards the big boss to give her thanks. For now, he just wanted to check the new attributes. Little White has become an Aqua Draconis at Transcendent Second Order. She can use ice in any situation: offense, defense, and utility. His Krill unexpectedly has two innate abilities, and both are relatively powerful offensively. She just needs proper guidance for an extended period, and she'll be a force to be reckoned with. She might have become an Aqua Draconis, but she's still Little White to the Master. Yuziyu hopes that one day, she will turn into a real dragon. Dragons are the most powerful creatures in this world after all. They simply live an unyielding existence like no other. If that time comes for Little White, she might just become the strongest force in the Misty Mountains. Hearing those big words from God Tree's voice made her beam with a bright smile. It has been a month since the battle against the Destruction Beast ended the way it did. Yuziv has resumed control of the mountains. Qinggang, the polar bears, and the whale group have been sent to guard the north. Time flew by, and another 8 days passed when a major event happened in the continent of Australia once again. With an abundance of fossils, the continent has now become a paradise of monsters, one of the most perilous places on Earth. On the 38th day after Australis' defeat, a thunderous roar echoed across the heavens and earth. Today was the day the world's first dragon has emerged, and it's already at the third order of transcendence. It had a voice that echoed like a thunderclap and a form as imposing as a mountain. A gust from its wings unleashed a hurricane of the 12th degree. There was only one course of action for the investigation team from the moment they laid eyes on the anomaly. The only thing that the poor team could do was to accept their fate. Shortly afterward, the news reached the Freedom Federation, Hua Xia Federation, Luo Kingdom, and the 10 Nations Alliance. The world was plunged into crisis again. Everyone tuned into their televisions and streams to see the fearsome sight of an ancient beast. The enemy of humanity has been identified as a colossal dragon. It's even the legendary evil dragon variant. If mythical creatures are beginning to emerge in this new world, then humanity might just be out of luck. The researcher they chose for this mission asserted that what they're about to face is a dragon that hasn't fully evolved yet, has not grown its arms yet. At this point in time, it could be labeled as a sub-dragon on the dragon species hierarchy. Even so, a species of this caliber will continue to evolve. There must be a distinction between sub-dragons and full colossal dragons. The researcher explained that the first distinction is the difference when it comes to strength. Sub-dragons are just fledglings. In other words, if they want to kill the beast, now is the time to do so. If they wait for a full evolution, then they might witness some events that would alter the world. An event more brutal than the one the Hua Xia Federation and the God Tree had with the destruction beast Australith. But there's also some good news. If they can secure the body of this colossal dragon to be studied, humanity evolution research will take a big leap in progress. Slaying this dragon is an absolute necessity whether they like it or not. Back in the Misty Mountains, a peregrine falcon was just reporting all this new human camp information about the dragon. Shi Yaling has already been conscripted to participate. After what happened with the destruction beast, all countries should have learned to work together to solve this problem. If anyone acts unilaterally, consequences will be handed down. Although it's none of God Tree's business, it would not hurt to have his whale team keep an eye on the situation. He got motion even in the ocean. A dragon, even if it's just a sub-dragon, is a beast of legends. If someone with that potential joins the Misty Mountains, there's no telling how strong they'll become. Every transcendent human soldier of the Federation worth their salt has been asked to report as a unit. They were taking every talented expert they had for another war, and the Flame Princess was not an exception. It has not been too long since the Battle of Jiaper City, and there are already undercurrents happening around the world. Yuziv had to assemble the army of the Misty Mountains under the command of his 4 kings. The monkeys, mantises, wild boars, and ants are ready. So are the rats, wind wolves, gorillas, and polar bears. The only thing remaining is to check on Lung Feng. From the emptiness of the shadows spawned the sneaky scout of the Misty Mountains. He relayed news earlier, and Yuzi just wanted to verify its accuracy. Lung Feng insisted that the info was only obtained through the sacrifice of thousands of rats in his army. In the abandoned town of the Western Wasteland, there exists a medium-sized fire attribute spirit stone mine. God Tree knows that Lung Feng deliberately emphasized the number of casualties in the rat army. He made sure that these sacrifices will not go unnoticed. Yuzi doesn't even know what kind of place the Western Wasteland truly was. Well, it's about time he stretches out again to take a look. In the back of his mind, the system's warning about the descent of darkness that will engulf the world, taking everything away from him, echoed. To be the God Tree is to be resolute, to never fall into despair, and to continue evolving like there's no tomorrow. Yuzi vowed to live by those principles until he can finally stand at the top of the world. Back to the Western Wasteland, also known as the Western Desert, was just your run-of-the-mill dunes before. When the Transcendent Era began, it has become a fierce and unforgiving land. Of course, there's still some ordinary animals that haven't evolved here and there. This one in particular just happened to be standing in the wrong place at the wrong time when God Tree was rushing in. Alongside him was an elite attack force of 9 tails: Divine Flower, Little Panda, Mantis, and the baby beasts. Sparky was also part of the entourage. He's the king's blade after all. This golden ant was also starting to notice that the color of the sand beneath them was a bit off. The reddish sand was also emitting a faint smell of blood. It's not an exaggeration to say that this is a vast sea of red sand. Countless battles must have painted the whole area. This is the first time that the baby beasts have gone out to experience the world, and it's harder than they thought it would be. God Tree had to spank them from behind, not letting them rest as they were here for some much-needed special training. Not far from the party, there's some sus pair of eyes observing them while blending into the environment flawlessly. When Chi-Zi finally got into the monster's attack range, it immediately pounced up. The little guy couldn't care less. He did not even take his eyes away from the phone screen. The monster was already celebrating internally for this easy prey. But Chi-Zi is not your typical pushover. He might be little in size, but he is truly monstrous in strength. It turns out that the little panda was just wandering around the area to find a signal to call Xiao Ai from this desert. The beast force weakens the enemies, then the God Tree takes the last hit for evolution points. This has become their rhythm. They've been walking for some time now, the harsh sunlight beating down everyone's body. No source of water can be seen for stretches of miles upon miles. But a giant God Tree and his crew were doing just fine. The system was flawless against even the tougher monsters of the area. Chi-Zi was like a knockdown machine, always ready to stun enemies. There are times when the baby beasts fall into obvious traps set by monsters or formed by nature. One time, there was a crazy camel that managed to get very close to the God Tree. With that last kill, he has gathered around 420,000 evolution points. It's a decent haul for a decent pace. On the way, they did not only kill everything that happened to try their crew. Sometimes there's a ray of light in this hopeless place filled with miserable sand, and those moments are special. The ray of light has come in the form of a mutated black scorpion at the 6th order of entry level. It has a diamond sting, a nasty poison. It has natural healing, and diamond scorpion armor. Divine Flower has also taken an interest in bug catching on the way. She found the creepy crawlies of the barren land adorable. Things seemed peachy on this side of the globe. While Yu and the gang were searching for the western wasteland's stone veins, a massive storm was brewing on another continent. Transcendent humans looked as though they had been engaging in something powerful in combat. They were, and it was the freaking sub-dragon of Australia. Humanity has brought the fight to the enemy instead of waiting to get slaughtered in their home nation. All of the promising talents humanity has to offer have gathered at this fated battlegrounds to vanquish a mythical beast. They don't look like they were doing much killing, though. They were all getting burnt to a crisp little by little. Some more capable or maybe lucky soldiers managed to survive the fiery onslaught. But the situation could not get any worse nor more terrifying. The sub-dragon just casually split the earth in half as far as the eye could see with its breath. After seeing that display of power and looking up to see a beast that could trample nations, anyone would falter. Even with a coalition of soldiers coming from different places and cultures, everyone was asking the same question. How can they defeat such a monster? Those Iron Knight Panda partners were also present this time around. Of course, the Federation's darling, the Flame Princess, was also playing her part perfectly. She knows that the strength of this sub-dragon is beyond imagination. She might need to unleash her true power for survival. Just as she was about to go balls deep with attacks against the beast, someone stepped in fearlessly. Everyone's attention was focused on the woman that took the vanguard. She warned everyone to step back. Shi Yaoqing knows this woman. That's the Knight of the Sunset Empire. It turns out that this human has a special ability called Knight's Defense. It's a beyond broken, indestructible ability that can block all physical impacts. The sub-dragon wanted to try its absolute attack with the Knight's absolute defense. Blondie readied herself. What's about to go down is a full-powered dragon breath with full focus. The collision was the definition of an unstoppable force versus an immovable object. The dragon breath was scattered around the barrier as it painted a beautiful but deadly crossing pattern. All around them, the topography has long since been altered compared to the start of the raid. Water and earth don't even have a clear separation anymore. While humans were struggling to passively defend against countless attacks, another faction was on the move. Led by a battle-hardened kangaroo beast, a couple of Australia's best have gathered as an audience for the battle of Sub-Dragon versus humanity. That kangaroo looks like a gym rat. The Sunset Empire Knight was also quite an adept leader with her own squad. Representatives of the Federation did not sit idly by either. This is a race against time. The best that the humans had to offer was barely making a dent in the Sub-Dragon's thick scales and skin. To the side, the party of demonic beasts that were patiently waiting and watching kept their eyes peeled. The kangaroo demon looked like he was enjoying the view of the battle a little too much. Humans are quite capable when you pull their numbers up. Even they could pierce through a sub-dragon's armor. After a few more grueling rotations of their best attacks, the coalition army finally managed to knock down the mythical beast. Even with this level of injuries all around the body, the sub-dragon still looked as fierce as ever. Another representative of a foreign nation with his squadron charged in for the kill, thinking that the enemy was on its last breath. At this moment, the entirety of the cut-up island was drowned by an ominous presence coming from all over the place. The coalition found it hard to determine what the hell was happening, but there was a strong sense of oppression emanating in the air. This is bad. They naturally blamed the sub-dragon for this sudden change of anxiety-inducing combat tempo, that wyvern beast. But if you look at it closely, even the mythical beasts seemed clueless and even affected by the heavy presence. Xiao Cheng was the first to notice this anomaly. The enemy is not just the wyvern. It was not even coming from the general direction of the wyvern. The source of the presence was from behind. It was the beast army led by the kangaroo beast. They decided to make their existence known through a heavy downpour of doom. There are all sorts of beasts gathered in one location in an organized fashion. Everyone could not help but compare this sight to that of the Misty Mountain monsters. The wyvern that had just attacked all day was now speaking in perfect human tongue, calling his enemies stupid fools that were being used. The beast army is using human forces to weaken the wyverns, and then they plan to swoop in to wipe everyone out when the time is right. Based on how Kangaroo Beast casually talks to the wyvern, even calling this sub-dragon Ned, it was obvious that they were acquainted somehow. Some of the foreign nation militaries did not waste another second and bomb-rushed the kangaroo that still seemed unbothered by anything. But the sheer difference in speed was just too much to bridge. Kangaroo continued to talk with Ned the Wyvern about how the king was furious. Ned is not only trying to enslave the entire race, but he also showed up in the mortal world to bring a breakthrough. And now he's exposed. Ned knew that the beast army had used all that reasoning to enlist the help of humans. Kangaroo did not even deny that part. Without the permission of the beast army, no ships would have been able to land on the shore of Australia in the first place. Now the mystery of the seemingly too easy tracking work against the wyvern has been revealed. They're being used by Australia's beast army the whole time. Kangaroo wanted to uphold their king's principle to minimize loss. Their king also doesn't allow their bodies, dead or alive, to be taken away by humans. So, in a beast's eyes, humans have to be sent to their deaths. Whether it's a wyvern's betrayal or the existence of Misty Mountains, nothing's allowed. Ned found all this posturing tiresome and ridiculous. With his strength and blood, he believes that he should be the king of his own making. In front of everyone as a witness, the wyvern's aura has increased up to another notch once again. This was within Kangaroo's realm of expectations. He knew that the mythical beast still had something up his sleeve, with the size of a dragon and powerful blasts of magic that can evaporate everything. Ned views Kangaroo as nothing but a stinking rat. But before unleashing a fearsome explosion of energy, Ned was attacked by another reptilian beast. This one chomped down, and it doesn't look like he's letting go. To make things worse, the biting was just the start of a combo. There was another peculiar beast up in the air holding an energy ball. With the reptilian bite force holding him down, Ned took a spirit ball to the freaking face. This wyvern is feeling it now. He hates getting played by enemies that were supposed to be beneath him. When Ned finally managed to get a decent foothold to leverage, he didn't waste a second. He immediately pounced towards Kangaroo, the beast that was running the show for his so-called king. Kangaroo proposed that Ned could die with dignity intact, but his body will be cherished and consumed by the beast army. At this point, every little move that the wyvern does is causing calamity-class interruptions. A lot of the best and brightest young talents of the coalition have also completely given up, just focusing on evacuating before getting wiped out. Amidst all the chaos of dealing with sentient beasts, Sakura Kingdom's team remained level-headed and decided to at least take the wyvern eggs away from the nest. The beast army that has just been observing all this time has started to mobilize their forces against those ninja egg thieves. Disposing of this much trash with this much strength was quite a simple feat for the Flame Princess. She would not even let these foreign beasts think about getting in the way of the mission. Things are heating up at the battle of the beast army versus the powerful Ned. The wyvern looked at the back of one of the egg thieves getting farther and farther away. It was like Ned knew what was about to happen to him, and he was just happy that his progeny, a new generation of dragons, would be out there in the world. He wanted an egg thief to run. The farther, the better, the less exposure to the cruelties of the Beast King of Australia. Meanwhile, at the Western Desert Mines, Transcendent Second-Order Fire Pythons littered the ground where the Fire Spirit stones were strewn around. God Tree and the gang finally found the place. The Spirit Stone mine was basically as good as theirs. The Fire Pythons on the ground would just probably be a bonus. But these Fire Pythons have been living well. They want to protect their carefree life by absorbing rich power straight from the source. This time, God Tree would not even move. He might as well utilize the combat force that he brought. They're the cream of the crop after all. Ninetales loved fighting fire against fire and coming out on top time and time again. Sparky was getting used to using fists instead of just relying on his sharp blades to change the pace of his offense. Have you ever seen a golden ant beat up a giant fire snake? Just look at the screen. Now you have seen it. Cheesy was also eager to prove himself after he promised to clear his debt and his embarrassing loss against the ancient creature by using a frozen fist. One punch in the dry desert were now blessed with a fatal sculpture of sharp ice. Unbeknownst to the Misty Mountain monsters, there's another pair of eyes keeping tabs on them from afar. Boys, this one is not wearing any plot armor. She had green hair and eyes. She had fangs reminiscent of a demonic creature. She was just watching because she's curious about what that infamous tree really is. Sparky was not even being challenged by the fire pythons. Every hit was a critical one. On another end, Cheesy was also doing the exact same thing, with a different flavor. There was also the unlikely team-up between the mantis and the divine flower to perform some horrific torture on the pythons. The only ones struggling against the current enemies were the inexperienced monster babies. They were here for training, but the god tree won't let anything bad happen to the two. When he saw that the pups were struggling, the big boss was already right there to rescue them swiftly. The yield in this initial hunt wasn't bad at all. 180,000 evolution points per snake killed is not too shabby. Even though this was clearly a one-sided massacre, the Pythons were standing firm on their ground. That's when the god tree comes in to let the enemies know their place. This is not a battle. This is not a contest. Once his imposing frame came a little bit closer, the fire python felt like a worm standing in front of something bigger than life itself. At that point, the reptilian realized that he was not cut out for this. They might be the big dogs of this area, but they are nothing when put in front of an actual god. The remaining ones who did not want to lose their lives inevitably lowered their heads to pay respect to the new big dog in town. UZ was pleased to see that there won't be any more struggling. These snakes are not too dumb after all. With this, Ninetales noted that the number of fire-type companions in their army has increased. Little Panda was still trying to look for a signal on his phone. Meanwhile, the woman who was spying from afar was left slack-jawed. The troublesome fire python clan was defeated just like that. Now that things are winding down, it's time to deal with that mysterious girl. Godtree had already felt her presence since they got to this place. He did not hide his pressure, so even she was alarmed that there's nowhere else to hide from those eyes. If that was the case, then she needs to escape quickly by slithering through the hot sand. The speed of Yuzu's roots was unbeatable in a contest of speed. Now, she doesn't have anywhere to hide and run to. Now that Godtree has finally caught an actual glimpse of the mysterious girl, he was surprised. The supple body of a human woman on top, the scaly and supernatural body of a snake at the bottom. Cheesy gave up on his phone and went to check out the commotion with the pups. Miss Snake was essentially surrounded by foreign entities. Godtree might be a powerhouse, but he could be ignorant at times. He thought that the woman was a ladyboy. He got close enough. She was actually a snake lady local to these sand dunes. And even though the chances of escape were slim to none, she was confident that she'll escape. Snake Lady has the mini-divine skill of petrification in her eyes after all. The beam that would turn anyone who looked into her eyes to stone swiftly targeted Godtree's roots. It was extremely effective, the rate of the effect was pretty fast, and its utility is top-notch. While she was focused on petrifying the wrong target, Ninetales caught up to deal with the Snake Lady. Her fiery breath kissed the sand below, but Snake Lady was quite good at maneuvering her body to evade by jumping up. The situation is turning bad, and Little Panda has to take the baby monsters away from the battle. He's like an S-tier babysitter. When Snake Lady landed and Ninetales was left wide open, the petrification focused on the agile fox. The battle was so fast-paced that a part of Little Panda's cloak was turned into stone while he was retreating with one of the pups. Snake Lady was also realizing that she was no match in a battle of speed and flexibility. Just when she was about to give up after failing to land a single beam, Ninetales was already ready for the backstab kill shot. An explosion of dust obscured the result of the backstab. Did we just kill a Snake Lady? I don't know. One thing for sure was that Ninetales was exhibiting a premium battle performance right now. Just ask Little Panda, and he would undoubtedly agree. The Misty Mountain's elder sister is just built different. But the struggle did not end there. Snake Lady was capable of conjuring some sort of spectral snake form to enhance her combatability. Ninetales is not one to get upstaged in these types of situations, so she also brought out her fiery fox incarnation. It has now boiled down to the battle of spectral incarnations being piloted by the respective fighters. In this form, Ninetales' already devastating Inferno Blast has gone up a notch in scale and destructiveness. The same goes for Snake Lady. In this flashy form, the petrification skill can be used to its full potential. It's a battle of fire and light that can turn anyone into stone. The conventional attack versus the unconventional combat skill. When the collision happened, anyone watching would have been shocked. Snake Lady can even petrify infernal flames into stone when you give her the chance to counter. That's not a cause for alarm with the Fox, though. The enemy could petrify flames and give the enemy an endless vortex of fire through the flame pillar. Miss Snake Girl was struggling. She doesn't know who these monsters are. She believes that being beaten in this fight would mean the same fate as the Fire Pythons earlier. She just could not comprehend what was up with Ninetales. This fox's spiritual energy seems endless. With dozens of fire pillars taking out what little moisture was in the place, this area of the western desert has become hot as hell. Godtree took this chance to take an observer role. He assessed that Ninetales has been getting increasingly strong very fast. In the middle of the flame pillars, the Snake Lady's incarnation was struggling to even maintain its shape. Finally, she was forced to terminate the corporeal snake form on account of the possibility of dying right then and there. Miss Snake wants to take advantage of the resulting smoke to slip away quickly. She can't fight like this. There's also the fact that Ninetales was not the only one to worry about. Godtree might just be observing, but he would gladly take action to prevent an interesting beast slip away. The last thing that Miss Snake Lady saw was the eyes on the Godtree's roots, full of life and power. And then there was nothing but black. She was forced to the ground as the Godtree's thick trunk pounded her down.
What do you mean by that?
You look down to see the results of the pounding. The root has taken on the shape of a hand to grab Miss Snake Lady properly because she fainted in fear. Night has fallen in the western desert. The scorching heat has been replaced by the cold. But Godtree and the gang were unaffected by the cold. They're a fire spiritual stone mine after all. In this seemingly abandoned city, an abundance of riches now belongs to the Misty Mountains. The spirit stones here are also much denser than those in the Pandas area. Even Ninetales, who usually hates cultivation, is in deep concentration currently. Now that they've secured the location, it's time to address the other thing. Miss Snake Lady has lost the fear from earlier. Now, she's freely interacting and having fun with Little Panda and his phone gifted by Xiao Ai. He was proudly displaying a song, and Miss Snake Lady was eating it up. Seeing this, Godtree couldn't help but admit one thing. That Panda Boy is really awesome when it comes to socializing. The second-order transcendent Snake Lady actually belongs to the Snakeman race. She can manipulate sandstorms, has the mobility and flexibility of a serpent. She can be one with the sand, and destroy everything with a jade phosphorus snake tail. But the best part of her kit was the unexpected mini-divine skill in petrification. As a new comrade, the big boss has a gift for Snake Girl. She really perked up after hearing that. The only thing she wanted at this moment was a phone just like Little Panda's. She's one of us. But what Godtree has in store is so much better than that lousy phone. Whatever it is, she does not want anything else. Cheesy whispered that Divine Tree just doesn't know about technology. Their boss is a country bumpkin. At this point, Snake Girl was basically throwing a tantrum like a child who wanted a phone more than anything else. Godtree heard all the insults that Little Panda was whispering. That's a few hits on the head. The same goes for Snake Girl for being a brat. What Yuzi wanted to give her was the root of his power, the luminous essence of life. Right after seeing the beauty of this substance, something compelled Snake Girl to take it into her body immediately. The effects were instant. She felt newfound strength flowing through her body. She definitely got stronger than before. With this, she will be one of them from today onwards, and betrayal will not be allowed. Snake Girl would gladly comply given the promise of power. Unfortunately, she possesses the same unruly attitude and spirit as Lil Panda. Now they both want to fight Ninetales. Godtree just finished going on and on about his rules, and the two were already conspiring to create some trouble. That earned them a few more hits on the head. While Yuzi was lecturing the new troublemaking duo, he noticed something coming from the direction of Misty Mountains. It was one of the Peregrine Falcons in charge of relaying information. This one was going full speed, so it must be urgent news. The distance this bird traveled was no joke. Peregrine Falcons are the only ones capable of such fast transport. The bird finally landed on Godtree's outstretched bark. It was only then that the fatigue hit the Peregrine Falcon. He flew one day and one night to find the Godtree. Never mind all of that. Yuzi just wanted to know what was up. The Falcon gave a detailed account of the updates regarding the human versus wyvern affair on the other side of the world. He took a special interest in what happened to the dark wyvern eggs. Those eggs falling into the hands of humanity are not good news at all. Even though the current human generation can't compete with him, you can't guarantee that the next generation will be in the same boat. He turned to Little Panda and Snake Girl. It's time to stop playing. They will be heading towards the east of the mainland. Their target is the Sakura Kingdom's forces to steal back the Wyvern's egg. Ninetails will be seeding this one out. She is still on the brink of breaking through after all. Spark, Mantis, and the baby monsters will be in charge of keeping the mine secured while the heist is underway. This time, Godtree intends to personally negotiate with the people of the Federation. During the entire duration when humans were suppressing the Wyvern, they managed to steal 4 eggs. The ironclad Night King from the Midnight Sun Empire took one. The strongest country at the forefront of force, the Federation, also took one. Targets of the Steelback mission, Sakura Kingdom, is also in possession of another. The last one went to the Kuwa-Shia Federation, more specifically, into the hands of the Flame Princess. Between the East and West, they agreed to have an equal distribution of 2 eggs each. Back in the Misty Mountains, the orders of the Big Boss were handed down swiftly. Emperor Alligator and Demon Bull were in charge of the area, so they were the ones to receive the memo. It was pretty much common sense that humans obtaining a transcendent third-order Wyvern's egg was not good news for the Misty Mountains. The combination of humans and Iron Eaters was already bad enough. If humans find a way to work with Wyverns, or even dragons in the future, it will be a massive problem for everyone. The raid in the land down under has ended, and each faction is now sending back the very important loot. Transcendent soldiers were sent to the docks to receive and secure the incoming shipment of a Wyvern egg. At the forefront was a man wearing the golden mask. No one expected that the Coalition would get something as valuable as a Wyvern's egg. They were already thinking about how to use it against the threat of Misty Mountains. Coming from above, a scouting soldier notified the boss that something was not right. The ship that they were waiting with bated breath for has no activity at all. It was basically a ghost ship. In the masked boss's mind, this type of thing was impossible. But when the shipment of the courier suddenly exploded near the docks, things started making a turn for the worse. The people at the docks felt a little relief when they saw the Flame Princess, now known as Flame Empress, fighting a beast on board. She was clearly struggling against the ferocious beast from Australia. To make things worse, there was something massive surfacing on either side of the ship. What emerged and broke the surface of the water were sea beasts of all species. The only thing they have in common is that all of them are colossal. Those monstrosities were no joke. Each one was a second-order transcendent beast. There's still quite a bit of distance between the ship and the soldiers at the dock. It looks like the Beast Army of Australia followed them quietly all the way home. Those beasts could have attacked way earlier to steal the egg back. Australia's beasts, led by the Kangaroo Beast, seemed like they had a bigger agenda behind their actions. That's not Kangaroo Jack, that's a jacked kangaroo. The humans were in a bad spot when they asked the beasts why they didn't attack earlier. Kangaroo Beast explained that it's because they have something to say to the king of this land. They just needed a guide to the Federation. He even sarcastically apologized for being rude stalkers. That refined and courteous attitude coming from a battle-hardened beast would make a human vomit. Even if they die, the forces in the ship will fight before hitting the shore. There are also an increasing number of sea beasts surfacing. The Transcendent soldiers had to jump in to suppress the monster wave. Unfortunately for them, each one of these beasts is much stronger than an average Transcendent. One very passionate soldier came in swinging a freaking rocket hammer, complete with a booster and everything. It was a glorious display of technology plus spiritual power, plus it looks rad as hell. That was just one guy and one beast though. This oceanic battlefield is filled with enemies. One that stood out was a starfish spirit beast with a mouth filled with sharp teeth. This is how Patrick would look when SpongeBob characters evolve. A soldier trusts his chances against the beast. He unleashed arrows made of energy while warning everyone else to move to the side. Those arrows were simple but extremely effective in thwarting the advancing force. One guy managed to force out 2 beasts in one attack. That's not too bad at all. It was at this moment that something just fell from the sky to the docks filled with soldiers. It's Flame Empress, the woman that humanity knows as Shi Yao Ling. One of the core members of Australia's Beast Army, their frog-like Shadow Master laughed at the pitiful humans that used to rule over the world. The Empress took the chance to try and provoke the monster, calling him jealous. It was kind of effective. Now, the Shadow Frog wanted to put an end to this farce faster. The commanding officer reminded everyone to not be careless as this encroaching beast army had come here to declare war. The Misty Mountain is already annoying. Adding another faction to the already muddy waters would only cause more chaos. Those sea beasts that emerged from saltwater have now lined up for the next demonstration of their power, energy beams. Golden Mask Transcendent felt the intensity emanating from the beams of those sea beasts and immediately jumped to the front lines with a defensive shield. The red and blue beams had no problem reaching the docks where the bulk of the soldiers were, but the defensive shield was impenetrable. Behind the massive shield stood the dozens of soldiers praying for the barrier to work and hold for a bit more time. The aftermath of those beam attacks was terrifying. It basically burned the ground off before being blocked. Gold Mask looked at his charred hand and realized that blocking an attack of that caliber could only be done once. He's at his limit, and there was no shot that he could do it again. While the Transcendent soldiers were cowering behind their leader, a scar-filled tail has taken hold of the Wyvern's egg. Kangaroo Beast did not even give the enemy commander a fight scene with how fast he took care of business. Despite the ease of retrieving the Wyvern's egg, Kangaroo knows that not every human is as weak as these soldiers. That may be the case, but the Beast Army thinks that it's time for the ruler of this land to change. At the sides of the ship were sea beasts, while behind it were even more sea beasts. Transcendent soldiers started shaking in their boots at the sight of such an imposing show of power. Now there are not only two, but dozens of giant monsters opening their mouths for an assorted flavor of spirit bombs. The leader with a gold mask barely managed to block 2 shots, and it nearly burned his hands to ashes. This must be the end. Kangaroo thinks so too. He was already saying his farewells to the humans at the dock. The kangaroo's smug smile was immediately erased when he felt a presence looming over his army. It was followed by sea beast heads flying. He slowly turned around, clueless as to what was happening. All he saw was a rain of blood. Then there were the sounds of heavy steps, so heavy that it was leaving dents on the pavement. The wooden body appeared behind the soldiers who were just waiting for their deaths at the dock. Upon getting a closer look, the kangaroo beast smiled. The one he was ultimately waiting for had finally shown himself. Slender branches twisting to menacing shape, hard and impenetrable through normal means. It was the king of Misty Mountains sporting a brand new form made for speed. Shi Yaoqing could not praise and run to her master at the moment. She still needed to play the role of being the Flame Empress. The soldiers were a little slower to realize what was happening, but that feeling of oppression was way too familiar for those few who witnessed the God Tree in action. Even in this new small and terrifying form, there was no doubt about it. It's the demonic tree from the Misty Mountains. With every move, this form seemingly squirms from the part rooted in the ground. That's because the root goes all the way down and out. This new form was not really the main body. God Tree was quite a distance away, only sending one of his powerful roots to the action. He could still speak through this root, and he wanted to ask the kangaroo why a foreign beast would address him as king. Kangaroo dropped all the sarcasm and arrogance and introduced himself politely. He expressed that the king of Australia has always wanted to meet the God Tree. You did not expect this kind of development. A king of beasts from a faraway land wanted to meet him. Not only meet him, that king wishes to work together with the Misty Mountains. They can pool their strengths and take over continents. The soldiers heard the exchange between 2 fearsome monsters. It was like they had a front seat to the end of the human world. Shi Yaoqing was also shocked. No one expected this type of talk from beasts that have never interacted before. Kangaroo beasts continued that they could take over to create a world that belongs solely to beasts. They just need to join forces and exterminate humanity altogether. God Tree only had 2 words for a response. It lost. Kangaroo wiped the triumphant smile from his face. He felt that the answer was regretful, but not out of their expectation. Nevertheless, it was still the wrong answer if you ask the Australian beast horde. Wrong answers mean you get lasered. But you simply don't have the time to play along with its comical villain monologue. He just wanted the egg, then everyone can get lost. Either do that, or everyone can just die here, beasts and humans together. The laser beams from the various sea beasts have finally been let loose. All these colorful and powerful attacks were aimed directly at the God Tree's representative root. Australian beasts referred to him as Tree King, and from now on, they will be enemies. Kangaroo beasts looked like a conductor of death as the symphony of monster beams filled the battlefield. Gold Mask Soldier just looked up without blinking. He was certain that it really was over this time. Unlike that guy, God Tree did not fret, and he was the main target of the array of attacks. All this flashiness was just boring attempts on his life, easily dealt with by a single root. With a sweep of his flexible and seemingly indestructible branch, he blocked the attacks. He got the timing right and easily redirected the colorful beams of destruction away. The soldiers who were praying for their lives just a moment ago were the ones to tank the shots. Just from the look in his eyes, it was evident that Kangaroo Beast did not like that at all. But before going in for another round of offense, he and the rest of his crew were already tightly bound by monstrous roots. He was controlling everything at a comfortable distance. At this moment, it's time for his enemies to die. Now the kangaroo beast has become rattled for the first time. He might really just lose his life without even demonstrating what he's capable of. All the sea beasts were easily dealt with. No matter how big you are, you're done if your neck gets crushed. Godtree did not forget to complete the mission. He was here for the wyvern egg in the first place. In his freaky hands was a real egg of a legendary dragon. You don't get to do that every day. While he was savoring the moment, the kangaroo beast managed to break free from the crushing roots and was now charging in. That valiant effort to sneak an attack in was met with an easy root block. Kangaroo still held his pride as he praised Godtree for being strong enough to push him into a precarious situation. Yuziyu threw the compliment back. He was genuinely surprised that this guy ended up surviving his massacre. Those roots are not just an excellent defensive tool, they can also be used as a lethal offensive weapon. Seeing the hopelessness of the situation, Kangaroo just decided to retreat to the snout of a shark beast. Godtree's message from the foreign beasts was loud and clear. Kangaroo will see to it that their king will be informed. He promised that this is not where it ends. And when the day of their reunion arrives, the battlefield will be their stage. With blood all over his body and internally, the kangaroo beast ordered his remaining pack to return. That includes the bizarre shadow-wielding demon fighting against Xiaoqing. The conclusion of their battle will have to wait. They stalked the human ship to cross the ocean with full force, but now, there were merely 3 of them left. They barely set foot on the land of the Federation, and now they are being forced to retreat and regroup. Just like that, the enemies that crushed the humans' hope ran away with tails between their legs. The Iron Knight commander that was beaten up by that kangaroo menace was still breathing with a lot of trouble, but at least he was still breathing. Godtree turned to the soldiers and asserted that he'd take the dragon egg as humans simply cannot control everything themselves, especially under the threat of the beasts from another continent. They have a legion that is not weaker than the whole Federation. If they attack again, humanity wouldn't even be able to protect themselves. So, the Misty Mountains will cultivate the dragon egg to bolster their strength a lot more. Those who have brains knew that this was not a discussion. Opposing the Godtree will only result in death. While Yuziyu was walking away from the scene, he also dropped the reveal that the Australian beasts have filled the air with poison that human technology can't cure. If anyone wants to live, they can come to the Misty Mountains to be detoxified. But he wanted to make it clear that healing won't come for free. Xiaoqing was finally able to smile just a little. Her master was quite cool, and the display of strength was outstanding. While the scene at the dock was happening, another battlefield was raging on. This one had more deaths on both the beast and human side. When you pay attention a little bit more, you would see that the foreign beasts are on the back foot. They were dealing with a combination of the little panda and snake girl after all. At this different point, beasts started surfacing from the sea too. There were corpses as far as the eye could see. Everyone was essentially dead, killed by foreign beasts. Little Panda was doing his own brand of torture, while the reptile monster was yapping on and on for daring to stand in their way. The king of Australia's way. This bit about the king interested Little Panda a great deal. He wanted to know more. But before the reptilian beast could spill the beans, the poor beast has died. The bright side is they secured another dragon egg. It got damaged in battle, so Little Panda could only hope that the Godtree had a solution. Somewhere in Australia, the heart of this area bears a bit of resemblance to the Misty Mountain surfaces. Kangaroo Beast was standing before a horrific and deformed beast. Their mission was effectively a confirmation that the negotiations with the Tree King yielded nothing. He felt shame for failing what he had to do, and he felt fear of the king that could easily do anything to him. But the grotesque king dismissed the whole matter altogether. Sooner or later, everything will be destroyed. In this place were several ancient beasts just like Australith before the transformation. Their plan will have to be expedited. In the middle of the western desert, a bright pillar of light lit up the dusk. Inside the pillar of light was Nine Tails. She has come back from meditation fiercer and literally hotter than ever. Sparky and Divine Flower watched in awe as the elder sister of the group looked as though she was about to go to the next level. This breakthrough has also triggered the cascade of unwelcomed guests. It looks like Sparky won't have to be idle for too long. He and Divine Flower need to push back against the beast stampede incoming. These types of beasts are the kind to take advantage of chaos. That horde will surely rush over regardless. While the collision between Sparky and the beasts was about to happen, there seemed to be an undetectable presence in the vicinity holding a sage's staff. He was covered with cloth, but it looked as though he was not as simple, nor as human as he initially looked. The beast horde attracted by Nine Tails' breakthrough and the spirit stone mine was steadily growing. On the other side, there were only the baby beasts, Divine Flower, fire pythons, mantis, and Sparky. Divine Flower started off the defense mission with mind control. Some of the rats in the middle of the enemy formation were taken over. Divine Flower tasked those rats to simply turn around and attack the other beasts behind. Sparky was about to take on a much more direct way of confronting enemies. And by direct, I mean directly cutting their heads off. This was easy work for someone as skilled as Sparky, but the beast that he wanted to kill first was starting to put its destroyed body back in place. Sparky knew this type of trick stems from mastery of the earth element. After healing back to pristine condition, the sand snake pounced. That didn't pan out at all. The golden ant easily shredded the snake's head. It was a critical and perfect hit, but the beast was fusing back again. This is also the perfect time for the baby monsters to get some real combat experience. Mantis was having no problems dishing out kill shots left and right. Divine Flower and her army of controlled rats were providing support wherever they could. The second wave of the beast horde has come into view, and they have something that looks troublesome. The fire pythons howled as if calling dibs on the upcoming enemy. Python Bro did not have to wait for the enemies to march closer. The pangolin beast was already dashing in with a ball form. Once this spinning hulk of strength entered the Divine Flower's range, mind control was immediately dished out. Now, the ball of destruction has been turned around to the army that this beast came in the first place. Rolling back into the beast tide headfirst was painful, not as painful as being crushed to death by your beast comrade though. That stunt made Divine Flower enemy number 1 in the eyes of the beast tide. There's a large number of beasts gathering on the right side again. They aren't that strong, but their numbers are staggering. To add to the pressure, this is a crucial moment for Ninetales right now. She cannot be interrupted in this state. Divine Flower will make sure that everything will go smoothly. She promised God Tree that she would make it happen. Her plan was to use mystifying fragrance. The rats were the first ones to get affected once again. Next came the smaller beasts, their lungs filling with a delicate scent. Divine Flower also jumped in to give the baby Lipper the power blessing so that it could run towards the left as a lure. She could not have picked a better mount. Baby Lipper has lightning speed. The horde that they were previously fighting followed, and the stampede crowd swiftly tripled in size as they ran around. The mysterious covered-up observer did not expect that there were so many good fighters that had gathered around that being. Right now, Baby Lippert and Divine Flower have arrived at the zone of the seemingly immortal sand snake. Starkey was still engaging with one, and now there are two. This was quite a hassle. With its serpentine mouth and sharp fangs ready to snack, the Divine Flower stood tall. The mysterious covered-up observer has decided to use his ancient staff for a certain spell. Divine Flower, Baby Lippert, and everyone else on the field had their eyes glued to the sky. Even the cool Sparky and his mantis partner in crime stopped the slaughter. Ninetales was still inside the pillar of light trying to break through, and even she felt the disturbance from outside. Every beast that joined the horde was now being blown away by a windstorm that seemingly had a life of its own. It didn't take too long for the entire middle of the ruins to become the eye of the windstorm. Ninetales gauged that someone capable of that level of attack is in the third order of transcendence. Such an existence shouldn't be here, but they have no choice but to make the most of it. Besides, every enemy beast has either been wiped out or blown far away. Sparky was in disbelief after the sand had settled and the wind had died down. Their thousands of enemies vanished just like that. While they were trying their hardest to make sense of the situation, a pair of canine feet touched the hot sand. The covered-up observer has stopped observing. He wanted to help and join in on the fun. Of course, the first instinct of Misty Mountain monsters was to get into a position to attack or counter. The observer just kept on looking at them. His brightly lit eyes felt hypnotic. That thing that invited hordes of monster waves. The pillar of light was still raging on. The observer guy took a seat and left his ancient magic staff lodged in the sand. It's already been half a month since they met the guy, but this weirdo has stayed in the same position without moving the entire time. Sparky's mind was blown that this guy could raise his hands to effortlessly block a beast hide. Heavy and rhythmic thumping could be heard and felt coming from a distance. For the first time in a while, the observer looked like he just found what he was looking for. The God Tree is back in the western wasteland. Mr. Observer has gotten up from his meditative pose in anticipation of God Tree's landfall. Even from a distance, the observer admitted that God Tree was indeed extraordinary. You can see that there's someone he doesn't recognize in front of the gate. The observer wanted to lay his case down. In his cultural studies of humans, the heavenly tree represents the sky. Its leaves and fruits represent the sun, moon, and stars, an existence above all others. Yuzi was quite weak against such high compliments. Suddenly, God Tree has become a lot more understanding of the situation. The observer wanted to cut to the chase. He came here because he needed some assistance with something that only the god tree could help with.